This is the day after I survived. This is a moment where I want to share a deep yarn with you about my journey with my darkest moments, from suicidal ideation, mental illness, and doing what it takes to take my life back, a ceremonial return. And I want to give a trigger warning to those that are coming into this yarn. This is deeply personal and it is my truth and my journey, and I'll be yarning about suicidal ideation, mental illness, domestic violence, trauma, lateral violence, history. So if you are going through it right now, maybe come back to this yarn when you feel strong enough or grounded enough. It will be here for you when you are ready. And for those of you that are new to me, my name is Chantel Thompson and I'm a proud Barkindji Yimpa woman, very proud mum, ngamika of 5 and Anishan to many more. I'm the founder and ancestrally chosen, culturally grounded and dreaming-led Barkindji warrior and founder of the Warrior Heart and Kilana Foundation movement, practiced, principle, protocol, and I'm here to share my story with you. Yesterday was the 10th of September was World Suicide Prevention Day, and it grounded me and it triggered me. It took me back to moments that I've experienced, and it also brought me to this moment that today is the day after I survived, because there were many moments where I sat in my deepest, darkest moments, and there were moments where I acted on it and I tried to take myself out more than once in the last 20 years since I first struggled with mental illness. And I had my first thought of, you don't belong here, you're not enough, you're not allowed, you're not worthy, it's not safe to be you, and you're better off not being in this world. And yet here I sit and I'm just looking at a note that my daughter wrote to me. Dear Namika, even though challenges have been tough, I'm so proud of you for how far you've come. Even though so many people talk and I know it's hard, but keep your head up. I'm so proud of you. I love you. Love, your daughter. And it's that sitting in front of me, and also the fact that I picked up, something made me pick up this journal yesterday, and the page that I opened it to, the entry said, I had a dream and I hurt myself and I saw the blood and I allowed it to flow. Thoughts, feelings that I didn't belong, I wasn't worthy, I wasn't allowed, I wasn't safe, I wasn't enough to be here, to be alive, to be me. In my darkness, in my light, in my trauma, in my wounds, in my power, in myself, in my heart, in my story, in my truth. And yet here I sit, able to share this yarn with you in this story, and reading those words and feeling her pain and knowing that I'm no longer her. The darkness is still there. Those words are still there, but they've lost their power. They're only a whisper of what they used to be. And instead, I have new words that I'm writing that are filled with truth and strength of who I am now and of what it means to come home to myself, because that's what the journey took. It took for me coming home to myself and making a decision. Was I going to choose between my past and my pain? Or was I going to choose between my power, my present, my purpose, and my peace? Was I going to choose my warrior heart and believe the ancestors' call? Believe the fact that if I woke up today, it's because life and the ancestors have a bigger purpose for me than what I can see or understand. And that maybe, just maybe, the words that are whispering, the feelings that I'm feeling aren't true, that they're not really mine to believe. They're a version of mine. To be here today on the 11th of September 2025, speaking to you and sharing this with you and planting this seed here. If you are in it, if you are on the edges of it, if you've come through it, I see you, I am you, I have been you, and please know it is worth it. It is worth every single tear, every single whisper of pain, every single fall to get back up and try again, because there is a light on the other side. And for those that are loving and holding and actively sitting in the darkness and loving someone who is in it, I honour you, because I want to honour those who actively held my hand and loved me through my darkest moments. They didn't try to pull me through, they just sat with me. They guided me, they held space for me, they loved me when I couldn't love myself. And when I was strong enough and I was ready, they held my hand as I walked from the darkness to my shadows. And now I sit in a season where I'm on the edges of my shadow and I'm dancing between my shadow and my power. This is my warrior heart journey, and this is my season of moving from survival to sovereignty, of weaving the Warrior Heart and the Kilana Foundation, grassroots and global, Because one thing I know to be true, you are worth it, I am worth it, we are worth it, and who we have been isn't who we have to be. And sometimes things repeat themselves, sometimes things trigger us to see, for us to be aware, for us to see. It's an invitation, it's an opportunity to see, have we really grown? Have we really evolved? Do we really want what we are asking for? Are we prepared to become who we need to become, to carry, to hold, to be responsible for what we are calling for or what we are being called to? And this is why I created the Warrior Heart community, because I was called for this. I've been through this. And if you want to know more, hit subscribe below wherever you're watching this or hearing this. And if you want to know more or you want to be in community, come and check out my Warrior Heart community over on School. There's a free community for those that are curious or on the edge, and just to be in community to awaken and activate your warrior heart. And for those that are more committed and more ready for the next level, or already doing the next level and you just want community, mentoring, guidance, come and check out the Warrior Heart Inner Circle, my paid community on School for fellow warrior hearts who have been told they're not enough, they're not allowed, they're not worthy, or it's not safe to be you in the world. And yet you are still here fighting. You're doing the work, you're sharing your story, you're showing up. You're being the change you want to see in the world. This is a ceremonial return. It's about a coming home to ourselves. When I picked up that journal, and I hold the two journals next to each other, and the different women, the different versions of me that are writing or have written in these two, and the different seasons that I'm in, and the journey that had to be walked to get from this to this, is not something that I take lightly. Because when I realised that the only way through was through my truth and was by coming home to me, because I'd gotten that far into being unwell, because there was a fight, there was a disconnect between who I was in my truest self and who I was allowing myself to be, or who I was allowed to be in certain relationships and spaces in order to be in them. And in order to come home, in order to still be here, I had to make a choice whether I chose the watered down version of myself in order to be accepted, in order to belong, in order to be enough, in order to be allowed, or I had to choose myself. And I had to become my own purpose, and I had to release and let go and surrender old dreams, old selves, relationships that I no longer chose to be in, but also people who chose no longer to be in relationship with me. And the grief and the wounds that came from those moments were something that shattered me when I realized who would be active in their love, in their respect, and who wanted to be in my life and wanted me in their life when I started to speak my truth and be my truth. When I had to be brave enough to be myself without apology. Still owning my shit and taking responsibility. I have caused harm. I may cause harm in the future, and yet I know it's not malicious, it's not intentional. I have to take responsibility for who I've been, those I've hurt, those who have spoken their truth and said, you don't belong in my world. Everything that I've missed, all the dreams, all the moments I had to let go of, or I had to witness at a distance because I chose my truth. I chose this version of me over a version of me that wasn't me. I just never realised how far it would take me, how many layers of myself I would have to release in order to be in that truth. And yet here I sit today, and that darkness no longer has a hold over me. I no longer believe. The whispers are still there. On the days that it gets hard, or the moments where I'm triggered or I get hurt, I get to reframe that whisper when it says you're not enough. Maybe it's easier not being here. I get to reframe that and go, that's not our story. That's not our truth. That's not our choice. Instead, in this season, we're moving from survival to sovereignty. We're choosing our power, our purpose, and our potential. And we're moving at the pace of peace and trust. I belong in this world. This is a ceremonial rising and return. This is me trusting that what is meant for me has not passed me by. It will not pass me by. It's surrendering to the fact that I don't need the answers. I don't need a map. I will be shown. I will be guided. And that when I show up and I listen, I will be provided everything I need for what's to come, to do the work, to be the person I am called to be, by the ancestors, by life. And the greatest gift I can give to those that I love and serve is by making sure that I'm well, I'm worthy, and I'm wealthy, in my truth, in my well-being, in being well, and first taking what I need so that then when I am with others, I'm giving from my overflow. That the impact, the legacy, the healing becomes a ripple effect. It becomes a flow-on effect because I've done that first for myself. That's one of the biggest lessons that I took from country and from one of the uncles who shared a yarn with me and said, look at the trees, Shan. They first have to take what they need and draw it down into the root system and take from country what they need before it can provide fruit, before it can provide shade. And that's what we need to remember is our cultural practices of being well within ourselves. Because when we lead from our pain and our trauma or our hurt, or we don't own our shit and take responsibility for it, we can often do more harm than good to those that we love and the purpose and the calling that we have. When we don't stop and recognize that being well, self-care is a responsibility. It's not a luxury. It's not optional. It's not a nice to have. It's a protocol. It's a practice. It's a principle. It's a governing decision to be well enough to be able to serve from your being well and your overflow. And yes, I'm resilient. Yes, I'm grateful that I can survive and that I'm still here. And yet I'm done with survival and autopilot as my norm, as my patterns of behavior, as my habits. I want to be sovereign and self-determined in my warrior heart, dreaming-led, dream-weaving, life-weaving, culturally grounded, ancestrally guided, and dreaming-led in myself, in my story, in my voice, in my truth, in my love, in my leadership, in my legacy, in weaving the warrior heart and Kilalana, grassroots to global, activating human potential. So much there, so much there. And I recognized that it was a responsibility to be well when I saw who was watching my journey, who was in my energy field, who I was showing up for, and how I was showing up in the spaces, in the relationships that I was in. And rather than trying to hold on to people, I started to take responsibility for myself, and I sat down for a little while and I allowed people to choose me, and I chose people. And the ones that didn't choose me back, I found a way to grieve, and I found a way to love them and be okay with releasing them. That was the only way forward. So in this season, from survival to sovereignty, it's about being well as a governing decision, as a responsibility, and being accountable for who I'm called to be. This is the ancestors dreaming out loud. This is the ancestors and what they fought for. Mob who are being themselves in the world, who are strong in self and culture, in a world that wasn't designed to see us succeeding and thriving and leading. And it's still not safe. And yet we're doing it anyway. And it's our generation's turn to ensure that who we're being, the story that we're living, the words that we speak, the energy that we put out into the world, honours those who came before us. It strengthens those in the now, and it plants seeds and resources and a legacy for the generations to come after us to be beneficiaries, not collateral damage of who we choose to be. And this isn't about taking on the world. This isn't about changing the world or healing generations of trauma or breaking cycles or trying to rescue everyone. Those things will become ripple effects. Those things will become side effects of you having the courage to come home and doing the inner work and owning who you are and owning what it's going to take for you to move from your pain and your suffering and owning your journey and owning your shit and taking responsibility to become who you choose to be and who you're called to be. And here's what I know to be true. Purpose is what happens in other people when you are yourself. When you are owning your gifts and your voice and your story and your purpose and your power and your potential. That's what activates in other people. Becoming your own purpose is one of the bravest things that you can do. Because the things we want for others, they come through us. They come through our words, our story and our experiences. And that can only happen when we have the courage to come home to ourselves and move in the world and through the world from that place. And when you are in alignment, when you belong, and you have clarity and conviction, motivation, you don't need energy. You don't need batteries because it becomes its own energy source. And you don't need motivation because you have conviction and commitment to something bigger. Because there is a greater truth that guides you and drives you. and calls you. And just because it calls you, you get to choose whether you answer that call or not. Because changing the world, healing intergenerational trauma, leaving a legacy for the next generations become a side effect, a ripple effect of when we come home to ourselves and we be ourselves in the world, so that those that are looking for us, those that need us, can find us, because we let our light shine. We let our voices be heard. We let our experiences be felt. And I haven't done the Warrior Heart Yarns for a long time. I had to step back and take a pause and really reevaluate what was next. What was truth? What was my heart speaking? And what is Warrior Heart? What is the Kilana Foundation? And what is the role that I play? What is the responsibility? Who am I accountable to? Who is my cultural authority? And what does this next season look like? What does it feel like? Who am I in that next season? And how do I weave the bridge from where I am to where she is? One step, one action at a time. And what I realized is that me being myself and me doing the change within myself and at my level, from my capacity, from where I am and who I am and with what I have, is enough. It is a thread. I am one person weaving my thread into the change that I want to see in the world. And that's all I need to do. That is all my responsibility. How far that goes, how strong that goes, how big it goes, how deep it goes, how long it lasts is not mine to carry. That is for the ancestors in the world to decide. My job, my work, my responsibility is to be myself and allow that to speak and move for itself beyond me. Once I show up, how that is received, how that is responded to, is co-created in the moment. And change and healing aren't these big, grand, sweeping gestures of change, like not from ourselves anyway. That is from the universe. That is from life. There are key moments, defining moments, origin moments, where you can look back and go, that was the moment. But there was probably 1,000 other small little moments that led to that, led to you breaking open or breaking through. And I can see those moments. I can pinpoint those moments. And one of the biggest truths that I had to accept and own in order to set myself free was the knowledge of the moments where I could have chosen differently, where I was being given an opportunity, or the moments where I knew I needed to choose something different and I didn't. That saying, when you know better, you do better, isn't always the truth. Sometimes just because you know something doesn't mean you're ready, doesn't mean you're safe, doesn't mean you're prepared, or that you have the capacity or the capability to move on what you know to be true. And a truth that I hold, and a pain that I hold, a wound that I hold, is all those moments when I can look back and I read, or I remember moments where I could have chosen differently and I didn't, where I didn't listen to myself, where I didn't listen to those I loved. And they were telling me what they needed from me and I didn't hear them. And as a result, not listening and not acting and moving, I lost people. I hurt people that I love dearly. And I can't undo that. I can own my shit, but I'll no longer weaponize myself. I will no longer wound myself or harm myself by sitting in that narrative. And I won't repeat it. I'll take the lessons and I'll move on. And sometimes lessons come, sometimes things repeat themselves to see if you've learnt, if you've evolved, if you're really committed and ready for what it requires to go where you're called to go, to be who you're called to be who you say you want to be. Do your actions and your habits align to what you say or to what you desire and aspire to? It's the micro moments. It's breaking down a change into something so micro that you can move on it now. Because I didn't know at the time nervous system regulation, that I was in fight or flight, that I had this version of myself that had won world titles, that had finished degrees, but I wasn't her. And what had helped me survive and thrive in past selves and seasons was now the things that were holding me back. And things that had been high performance before were now dysfunction. And I didn't understand that. I was still holding on to old versions of myself and old dreams and trying to weave them into a new dreaming, an evolved, transformed dreaming to what the ancestors were telling me was where I needed to go and who I needed to be. I was resisting. So it was micro moments. It was moments where I got to choose, where I was conscious. Am I going to choose an old pattern or am I going to weave something new? And each moment in a conscious choice is going to strengthen those neural pathways. The moments where I take a deep breath and I'm intentional and I ground myself in who I am and what is my purpose before I step into that moment, that story, that voice, that stage, that room, that relationship, that energy, that opportunity. And the moments where I tap out and the gap between when I shut down and when I get back up is getting shorter. My capacity, my capability is getting stronger. And it happens in those micro moments, in those micro choices where I get to change the thoughts and say, that's not my truth, or I can reframe it. I get to acknowledge how I'm feeling and choose something different. I turn on some music, I listen to something different, I put on my earrings, I am intentional about putting on the version of me that I'm becoming, and I call her in by the choices that I make. When I choose her, when I choose my power, my potential, and my purpose, grounding myself in peace and trust and move from the warrior heart over my pain and my past. This can be done in micro moments, and this is the journey that I'm sharing with the world. And my personal journey, what is for me in this season, is loving on my family, is creating wealth, intergenerational wealth of culture, of relationships, of stories, of financial and time and location, freedom and sovereignty, of giving and creating resources and funds that will be here for generations, creating a movement that will be so much bigger and deeper than me. That is what I'm moving. That is what I'm creating. That is what I'm planting. That is who I'm being in this season. And this is my season of moving from survival to sovereignty, of weaving the warrior heart and the Kilana Foundation from grassroots and global, and the journey to Black Belt World Champion. This is personal. This world title isn't for anyone else. This one's for me. The first one, in 2015, I didn't even believe I could. The second one in 2016 was to prove that the first one wasn't a fluke. And the third one was almost arrogance of going, this is my norm. Now I want to see what I'm capable of when I'm fully myself, when I come home to myself. And that journey to Black Belt World Champion, when I step onto that podium, when I'm on those mats and I fight my fight and they raise my hand and I step onto that podium in that truth, that I had the courage to come home to myself, that's personal. The rest, the warrior heart, the Kilana Foundation, movements, practices, principles, protocols, that's for those that I love and serve. Journey to Black Belt World Champion, the Barkindji Warrior, this is personal. This is me telling myself that I matter in my own experience, in my own life. My journey back to culture and language and dance and what I'm doing next. My 40s is me. As I am, building a home, building love, building the self that can honour those that I love and serve, and the gift that I'm still here because I'm coming into my 42nd. But let me ask, how many days until November 17th, 2025? There are 72 days until November 17th, starting from today. And these are the days that I choose, the moments where I choose my warrior heart to move from survival to sovereignty. Because my mum, she died 5 days after her 42nd. She died in the season where I wanted a relationship with her, where I was ready to heal that mother wound. And I never got to tell her that. I never got to tell her that I loved her. I never got to meet her as a woman, as a mother. She couldn't be there for me in the way that I needed as a daughter. And I realised and I acknowledged that she had her own journey and that she was there for me in the ways that she could, but it wasn't what I needed. It wasn't what I deserved. It wasn't what I wanted. And I never got the chance to grow up with you, Mum. I never got the chance to tell you that I love you and that I see you and that I forgive you and that I need you, that I want you. And you died before I could tell you that in this world, but I've told you that in spirit over and over again. So when I reach 42, when I reach that day 6, a day longer than my mum was alive, I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to create ceremony around that. I'm going to release all that is no longer mine, that no longer belongs and that is not mine to carry, everything. And I'm going to celebrate and honour the fact that I get to be here. I get to write a story that my mum never got to, and I'm not going to write it for her, I'm going to write it for me, and that in its own way is going to be for her and because of her, and because of my nan and my great nan that had their own wounds and have their own story. And hopefully I plant a seed, I create a story and a legacy, and I become the mum. I be the mum that my children deserve, that those that I love and serve, those that call me Anishan or Namika, that they deserve. That I get to be with them because I've been with myself first, and that I do more good than harm. that those that I love see themselves as beneficiaries of my journey, not collateral damage. Because here's what I know to be true. I can only carry what is mine. I can only take responsibility for what is mine. And that's what I'm going to do in this season. That's what it means to move from survival to sovereignty, to be allowed, to be enough, to be worthy, to be safe, to be wealthy, being well and worthy of moving from my power, my purpose, and my potential, grounded in my peace and my truth, culturally grounded, ancestrally guided and dreaming led, being bravely and boldly me without apology, and weaving life, dreaming and walking the warrior heart and the Kilana Foundation, grassroots to global, being a bougie black and everything that comes with that, black loud and proud, feminine loud and proud, matriarchal loud and proud, and owning the journey of the Bakaji warrior, journey to black belt world champion as mine, as personal, and what it means for that journey to black belt world champion in culture and on the mats and off the mats, and sharing that journey with the world and inviting people to walk that with me. So if this has resonated with you in some way, can you please share it with me, how it resonated with you? And if it speaks to you, or you know that it will honor or serve someone in your world, please share it through a text message, through your socials, so it can reach others. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your energy and the gift of you, because you could have listened to this anywhere. You could have listened to anyone else's story, but you chose to be here. So if you've gotten to this moment, this is for you. This is whether it finds you now or sometime down the track. It's a seed that is planted for you to find when you are ready and when you need, or for it to find you. And if any of this speaks to you, join me in the Warrior Heart movement. Subscribe, share it, and come and join the community. Come and join the movement. Create your own practice of the Warrior Heart. What does moving from survival to sovereignty mean for you? All the links will be below. This will be here for you. I love you. I see you. I am you. I honor you. And this is the Warrior Heart, moving from survival to sovereignty in this season. Grassroots and global. I'm Chantal Thompson, the Barkindji warrior, Namika, Anishan, proudly Barkindji Yimpa, and everything else that comes with that, founder of the Warrior Heart and the Kilana movements. And this is Warrior Heart Yarns with Anishan.